it's something that you have to exercise every day. It's not that you one day will wake up and feel super excited about everything and enjoy every simple thing. As I told before, our brains tend to focus on negative things. So uh, it's on us to try to exercise and identify those things that we really enjoy and try to bring to our memories all the things that we like. At the end, is more savoring life as a whole.
Hi, everyone. I'm Roger Castor, and welcome to the What Do You Know to Be True podcast. In these conversations, I talk with ordinary people about their extraordinary skill and the meaningful impact it has on others. The intention is to learn about their experience with their superhero power, and in doing so, maybe we can learn something about the special talent in each of us that makes us unique and allows us to achieve our purpose. In the season of gratitude and giving, I'm so grateful for our guest and for the story and experiences she is going to share with us today. It's truly a gift to witness and receive her story and the hopeful message she intends to send by sharing it. This conversation is with Melissa Martinez Barraso, and her superhero power is savoring the best things in life. Melissa and I met a couple years ago when we started working on a project together. Now, Melissa just moved from her hometown of Mexico City to New York City, and I'm always impressed with people who have the courage to move from one country to another, to be exposed to and to learn new customs, new rituals, and do all of this in a new language. But Melissa's courage and sense of adventure did not stop at just moving to a new country. On Monday mornings when we'd get together, Melissa would tell me about the new adventure she had had in New York City over the weekend, and these stories had a special spark to them. It wasn't just going to a museum. It was going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and attending a rooftop party and dancing the night away. She wouldn't just go to some happy hour arranged by her building manager. She would be doing stand-up paddleboarding in the middle of the Hudson River. She didn't just go to Central Park. She'd go there and draw people in her sketchbook. Every story she shared had something extra to it, something that these experiences were amplified because she did something special. Recently, I listened to a Hidden Brain podcast on Savoring, where the host Shankar Venantham interviewed psychiatrist Fred Bryant, who has studied savoring for over 40 years and has co-written the book Savoring, A New Model of Positive Experience. In that book, the authors define savoring as the capacity to attend to the joys, pleasures, and other positive feelings that we experience in our lives. In the Hidden Brain episode, Fred Bryant shares that savoring the simple pleasures in life not only helps us experience more joy in those positive moments, but that savoring helps build resistance and is now being used in cognitive behavioral therapy as a way to dampen depression. He advocates for proactively pursuing joy through savoring, but points out that since our brains are wired for fear, we have to take the extra step to seek out joy. More to the point, Fred says, while fear hunts us, we have to hunt joy. Which brings us back to Melissa, our joy hunter. Melissa's stories of her adventures in New York City are filled with finding joy in the present and holding on to them when the present is not joyful. And my presumption had been that when she was primarily doing this, it was in pursuit of joy and positive experiences alone. But that's not the case. Recently, Melissa shared with me that her practice of savoring did not start that way. At the beginning, it was not to find joy in mindfulness, but it was a conscious choice for survival and transformation. If you're ready, let's dive in. Hello, Melissa. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Roger. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited.
My pleasure. So I'm using this term savoring, and I casually define savoring as the deliberate practice of seeking out joy in everyday things to increase the positive and to be more present in the moment. Does that definition resonate with you? And is that how you would describe what you do?
I think our brains, or at least my brain, tend to think about the negativity more than the positive
Mm-hmm.
experiences. So I use savoring more as a tool to get out of that negativity my brain is focused on. And I was thinking about that yesterday because I was commuting from the city to my apartment and I was in the subway. It was really crowded, it was running late, there was no air conditioning. So I was really annoyed by everything. I could continue thinking about that and how not happy I was at that moment. But I started to think about the other things that I did when I went to the city. So I
Mm.
had a great dinner with my boyfriend. I went to a concert of a musician that I really like. So all of a sudden, I was thinking more about that than what I was living at that moment. So I don't know. I see savoring savoring more as enjoying life as a whole, more than
Mm.
just the little moments that those little moments do matter. But I think it's more as a whole.
What I love about that is savoring is not only a tactic to enjoy the present, but when you're in a position where maybe the present isn't worth savoring, that you can go back to those moments of the things that you are grateful for thankful for, and relive them and savor those a little bit more.
It's like bringing to your mind all those great experiences that you had and try to think about how you felt at that moment, how that smelled maybe because you had a really good meal, how it tastes. Um, and I think that helps you to stop thinking about all that negativity and focus more on the good things. And when you're experiencing great things, great. Enjoy the moment. Take a mental picture of that because you're gonna use it later, maybe.
And I love that idea of taking a mental picture. Fred Bryant, who has written a book called Savoring a New Model for Positive Experience, talks about taking a mental picture as a way to store that moment and to savor it later. And it's something my wife does, and I can remember the moments in our lives together where she has said, take a picture in your mind. And the first time she said it to me was 31 years ago. Sorry for that audible, like, wow, that was a long time ago, I'm old sound I just made. But 31 years ago, we're sitting on our rooftop in Santa Barbara looking at the stars, and beautiful summer night. It's nice and warm. Stars are plentiful. And she says, take a picture. And I can still picture what it was like to be there. And there's times like right now, I'm savoring in that moment. What are a couple examples of things you do to find joy in everyday life?
In the daily basis, I think I try to do things that I really like. So yeah, I have to work that I like to work too. But before doing that, like dedicate some time for me, for what I enjoy. And for me, it's just having a cup of coffee. I need coffee to start the day. Going for a walk with my dog. Um, and then yeah, continue with the with the daily basis. Um, but I believe is trying to dedicate some time for me, for what I need, for what I like, and trying to practice it like every day, like what we said. Trying to take that mental picture of the good things that you like and try to remember how that felt.
I've recently come into learning how one should taste coffee. And it's, the first step is the smell. You just smell it and see what flavors that you can get from the aroma. The second step is to slurp. Like you actually slurp the coffee, and it's for the intention of spreading the coffee over the tongue. The third step is to locate where in the tongue does it hit. And then the fourth step is to describe the flavors that you taste. Um, and I'm new at this, so when the slurping feels awkward because we're taught not to slurp our food, and the locating on the tongue is also something I need to practice, because it's like it's hitting all over. I don't know quite what, but this practice of tasting coffee, I think, is a great method of savoring. And it has the intention not to be more present in the moment, but to really be able to get a more definitive palate, the ability to pick out the
Mm-hmm.
flavors of coffee and be able to discern one coffee from another. But it feels almost like a meditation practice, and it's definitely a savoring practice to follow those steps.
I would like to include meditation as one of the of my practices, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not. I would like to do it. I would like to do it, and I think
Yeah.
that will help a lot in this exercise of savoring. But I don't know. I cannot stay just that much time just sitting and thinking.
They refer to it as a practice because it takes practice. And what I've
For
come
sure.
to learn about meditation is those moments that you get antsy, the moments where your mind wanders. That's supposed to happen. It's going to happen. The strength, the thing you work on, is being able to come back, and as as the practitioners, the teachers will tell you, and begin again. There is the juice in that practice, the beginning again. I also, Enrique Martin, who was on an earlier episode of the podcast, when I had shared with him that I started a meditation practice, he had asked me, "Are your dreams more vivid?" And I thought about it, and it's like, yeah, actually, they're a lot more vivid. And he's like, that happens with meditation. And I was sort of surprised to connect the dot on those two,
Mm-hmm.
because I, I, I thought it was something in my diet or maybe just some other changes. But so another advertisement for meditation is that your dreams will become more vivid. Did you have someone early in your life who was a role model for savoring?
It's my grandma. I feel like she's always enjoying everything. She's enjoying always life. I got impressed because she always has this energy and she always wants to dance and have conversations with you. And
Hmm.
but I didn't realize that until now. What most impacted to me, or the person that most impacted me about savoring, is kind of funny because it it was a coworker. um, he was a coworker. Um, we were having lunch at work, and he was talking about all the things that he wanted to do, and he wanted to do an MBA, and he wanted to get married, have kids, uh, I don't know, live in Europe and become a partner, and the list was really really long. And I told him, well, you want everything, and he said, yeah, I want all the great things that life has to offer. And I don't know, I that that phrase resonated so strong on me that 5 years later I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, that sounds like it um, was a gift, what that person said, and they probably didn't have the intention for it to be a gift. They were just sharing what works for them, but it sounds like it was received as a gift and
It
a
was.
yeah, a mantra, something to hold on to, and that you carry forward. And I love how you mentioned your grandmother being your role model for savoring. My grandmother, who also moved to New York City young in life, she was living in Florida, in the Panhandle, definitely more rural, more country than New York City. Moved to New York City in 1944, and she was a model for a time. She worked in the library. She did a lot of different things. She was a yogi. She practiced yoga and meditation in the 70s, and she probably
Cool.
continued to do it. But I love this idea of New York in the 70s, and there's my grandmother doing modeling, or I'm sorry, doing yoga in the 70s and modeling in the 50s, and just, having this really, interesting life in the city. Um, I have been traveling back to New York to visit her for my whole life, and so there's different times that I got to go back, and we would go do different things throughout the city. And it didn't take me too long to realize there was a pattern that we kept going to some of her favorite places, and I was there for it. I loved everything, whether it was, going to the museums, whether the Guggenheim, where the architecture is art in and of itself, going to the Whitney, going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which I know we both have a passion for. We would go to, just even walking down the street, and the pretzel vendors, and that smell of the dough and the salt and the mustard, and just taking that in. You should have to pay for that, just that sense of that smell, let alone the pretzel itself. But her favorite place in New York City is Grand Central Station. And I know we've talked about this before, but she would love to go into that grand hall at rush hour and take a seat at one of the bars up on the mezzanine and just watch the flow of humanity, of business people running to their trains to go up to Connecticut or up to Westchester, or just rushing to get home to be with their families. And she was sitting there and just loving this sense of being in this grand place, this beautiful hall with the beautiful mural on the ceiling, and seeing people just running to be with their families, and rushing to get on that train so they can get home as quickly as possible. It was just a wonderful moment, and she was savoring that moment. She was doing something that was just, total sensory experience, and making a point of sitting, observing, and taking in what was going on. And I think about that as, one of my early and frequent reminders of savoring and the art of savoring.
I really like when you talk about your grandma. Inspires me so much. Now, every time that I go to those places now, I'm remembering your grandma. So
Well, and this is when we were working together and we would talk on Monday morning. I was always so interested to learn what you did over the weekend, because you would talk about doing things like, going to Central Park and drawing people, or when you went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and you went there to go, to a rooftop party and was dancing on top of the roof. I mean, those really felt like moments of savoring, and it reminds me a lot of what my grandmother did throughout her whole life. And so I think there's a special connection that we have there.
I really enjoy when you talk about your
Mm.
grandma. And to be honest, every time that now I go to Central Park or Grand Central, now I'm thinking, oh, Roger was here with his with his grandma. I don't know, it's so sweet.
It's secondhand savoring.
It is, because I can imagine her just sitting there watching people.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
And you don't, when you're at Grand Central Station, you don't have to imagine it. You're doing it too, and it's,
Exactly.
it's probably a feeling of not doing it alone, that you've done it. There's probably a lot of people who do that and love being in Grand Central Station, because it is fascinating. It is amazing to see that, the chaos and the flow of humanity through there, and what that portal means for people. Yeah, it's one of those things that's really hard to put into words.
There's an artist that I really like, and I forgot his name, but he really likes to do that. He sits at the subway or in a park, etc., and he's just there sketching people, and those really big sketches of people, and has one of people in Grand Central, just, and you can see like people with hair, with their bags, with their dogs, with wallets, with a lot of kids, tourists. I don't know, it's great.
Yeah, the utter chaos of humanity that flows in and out of there. And yeah, it's inspiring. There's so much, like, people are going through there, and it's not the act of being there, it's going through there to go do very mundane, simple things, and then some really amazing things. And it's an, it's kind of a privilege and an honor to be able to witness that, not knowing what they're going off to do.
Hmm.
But we can, maybe we can start telling ourselves some stories of, hey, there's a parent with 3 or 4 kids, and of course they're going to Central Park Zoo, or maybe they're going to museums, or maybe there's a street festival they're going to, or there's a business person with their computer bag, and they're rushing off, and they have a little bag and a drink, and they're probably didn't get lunch because they were so busy at work, and they're trying to get home, and we could tell
Hmm.
ourselves those stories about that, and just yeah, really just witness life going on. And
I,
it's kind
I
of
love that.
wonderful. Yeah, wonderful being able to sit back and not be focused on yourself, but you get to focus on other people.
I love that.
Okay, now I want to go to Grand Central Station. um
I will send you a picture.
well, next time we're in New York, we'll have to go there together.
For sure.
So you recently told me about the moment when you consciously chose savoring as a pathway to better health and well-being. What would you like to share about what led up to that moment, what inspired that moment, and the path you've been on since?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how we talk about it, about this person just inspiring uh, that moment, because I think that phrase of wanting to experience all the great things that life has to offer became like part of my purpose, and I'm really not quite sure about how to explain this, but in short, I've been dealing with anxiety and depression for a while, since high school. Um, and that led me later to an eating disorder. So savoring wasn't part of my life at all, at least when all of this began. I hit the rock bottom when I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. That is really important to sleep. I wasn't drinking a lot of caffeine. That it's good, but if you're not eating, it's really bad. That led me into a renal failure,
Hmm.
and I ended into the hospital. And being there was really scary. I don't know. I was there in the hospital, and I kept thinking about this person saying that he wanted to experience all those great things that life has to offer, and I couldn't help but think that I wanted that too. I wanted all the great things too. I left the hospital, I went back home, but something changed me. I don't know. I was determined to do all what I could to really experience those great things and enjoy just being here, being alive.
I know that's not an easy story to retell, and I think you're very brave for sharing what you have, and being willing to come on to this podcast and share um, the that story and what led you to up to that moment, and um, being able to bring forward that idea of enjoying the best things in life as a way of part of your recovery and survival. And so I think that's courageous and brave, and I really appreciate and I'm grateful that you're sharing that you originally shared it with me, but then you're willing to share it here, because I think the more we hear these kind of affirmations from other people, um, there's going to be moments in our life where we're going to need to be able to, where we're faced with these choices, these challenges, and hearing stories of other people's courage and bravery, I think only helps us be more brave and courage in those moments when we need to. So thank you for sharing that. Um, you also recently told me, and I think this again continues this as an example of you being courageous and brave, that you want to share your story in order to help and have an impact on others who are experiencing what you experienced. You shared that you want to help destigmatize seeking out mental health services, and you want to demonstrate one way to break the vicious cycle of seeking an external validation in unhealthy ways, um, can be through sharing your experience with savoring. Can you share a little why that's important to you and the impact you hope to have on others?
First, thank you for those kind words. I I felt that this was the right platform to talk about it, that you were the right person to talk
Hmm.
with. I wanted to share it because there's like so much stigma around mental health. And at the end, your brain is another organ. Like uh, if you have stomach ache, you will go to the doctor and receive treatment, and then you will feel better. So why not you can't go to a doctor when you are feeling bad? It's 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 the same. It's an organ. What I noticed when I was in feeling that bad is that I didn't want to say anything, and I didn't want to be like classified in that group of people that have mental health um, problems. Um, but there was no reason around it. It was just because it sounded really bad, I think. Um, and when I started being a little more open about it, I realized that I had friends that were experiencing something similar, that I had co-workers that were experiencing similar things, and all of them felt alone.
Hmm.
Uh, but we were all living, we were all interacting, and we were all living and experiencing similar things. And at the end, we were not alone. So I believe if you are open to talk a little bit more, maybe not everything, because I know it's because I know it's a little hard to talk about it, but um, maybe it's someone that is experiencing something similar and that feels really, really lonely, and this opens a little door to seek help.
Mm. And sometimes all we need is a little door or someone saying something over lunch that just they might think is a simple quote, but it sticks with that other person for the rest of their life and becomes that, that central focus, that mantra for them. We never know the impact we have
We
on
never
others.
know.
And you're right that, everyone's dealing with something at any time. And the we're going to need help with some of the larger things in life, and not, whether it's a stigma or whether it's just the fear of other people's opinions. There's a lot of people who don't seek help, who don't ask for help. um, and that's tragic when they're thinking they're alone, when in reality everyone is having a everyone's had a mental health challenge or can relate and be empathetic, and the people around us. And this is something that actually came up on a prior episode as well, about rewriting inner narratives. Our guest Karina, who is a teen counselor on a mental health crisis hotline, um, talks to teenagers who are thinking about harming themselves, and the people who love them the most, who want to care for them the most, their parents, they're afraid to tell them. They're afraid of disappointing, and it just seems so tragic that the people who love us and care for us the most are the people that we're least that we don't want to tell. And yet they're in the best position to help us and to care for us, and for us to feel that warm, physical and mental embrace of being cared for. It's just right there. And yet all it, no one's ever going to know what's going on inside of us. So really it's incumbent upon us to share with the right people. But there's plenty of people who are out there who want to help each other. Mm-hmm. Mm. This is what Fred Bryant in his book, and then also I've heard him talk about it in a podcast where he talks about savoring as a cognitive behavioral technique, where it actually has been proven to dampen the feelings of depression. So you're onto something that you have found through your own process and with the help that you've received. And this idea about practicing, Fred also talks about, of because our brains are wired for fear, that fear kind of hunts us and we're always looking for it. But he'll then say we need to hunt joy. We need to be proactive and looking for those things that create positive experiences for us, that creates joy for us, because um, there's the benefits that it provides for us of being present, of enjoying the moment, of being able to take those mental pictures and be able to hold on to them for the rest of your life. So I love that combination of practice as well as it being a tool to help um, dampen depression. So I think I shared with you I'm in a book club and we read books on topics like this. And one of the books that we've read recently is Oliver Burkeman's 4,000 Weeks. And the premise behind that is the average lifespan covers about 4,000 weeks, every 20 years being about 1,000, and the average age being 80. And it's a time management book, but counter to a lot of time management books that tells us how to, you know, be more effective at managing our busyness and just allow to be more busy. This book is actually putting a contrarian view out there, saying that, hey, we only have 4,000 hours, and 2 generations, 3 generations after we're gone, no one's going to remember us. That's very unlikely we're going to have an impact on the world that people are going to remember in that time frame. So maybe instead of being so busy trying to attain something in the future, to be more present in the moment, to make the moment more positive, pleasurable for you and those around you, which is central to this idea around savoring. Do you have any thoughts about that?
You don't need to do anything extraordinary to deserve or to win um, being able to enjoy life, enjoy things. So I think it's very much aligned with what you were saying.
It's wonderful that you've learned all these things and you don't have to go read these books because you already know them, and that frees you up to go read different books about things that you want to know about, and it can add to everything you know. um, and that also leads me, and I think you started to answer the question right there with, you deserve all these things. What do you know to be true about savoring?
You cannot savor if you feel or think that you don't deserve what you are experiencing. Um, and I would love that if one person hears and they just get one phrase of all of this conversation, is that you deserve all the great things that life has to offer. You don't
Hmm.
have to do anything. You just because you are here and you're alive, you deserve it. And the second thing is that it's not as easy as it sounds. It's something that you have to exercise every day. It's not that you one day will wake up and feel super excited about everything and enjoy every simple thing. As I told before, our brains tend to focus on negative things. So uh, it's on us to try to exercise and identify those things that we really enjoy and try to bring to our memories all the things that we like. At the end, is more savoring life as a whole. And the last thing, and I believe is really important to mention, is that I used savoring as a tool to deal with anxiety and depression, but I'm sure I wouldn't be able to do all of this if I haven't received uh, help. So I encourage you to, well, to the person that is hearing this, and if they are struggling with something similar, to ask for help and accept that help. I think it's really hard to start thinking about savoring and all of these things if you are not receiving the right help.
What have you come to learn that's not true about savoring?
In my case, um, I felt that I needed to win things. So I felt that I needed to do something extraordinary to be able to enjoy other things. And when something really good happened to me, I felt bad because I didn't do anything to win uh, that. And and that's not how life works. We all deserve it.
Oh, I told myself I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Are you ready to savor the lightning round?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Mm. Okay, sorry. Fill in the blank. Savoring is.
Experiencing all the great things that life has to offer.
Who in your life demonstrates savoring for you?
My grandma, for sure.
Is there a practice or routine that helps you grow, nurture, or renew your ability to savor?
I believe is dedicated time to yourself, to to identify the things that you like, and dedicating time to do all the things that you really enjoy to do.
Is there a favorite book or movie you recently watched and would recommend that has savoring as a theme?
About Time has savoring all over the movie, so I recommend that.
What is one thing that gets in your way of savoring?
It's me. I said maybe this too many times, but I tend to think in all the negative things, so I'm the only one that could decide if I want to focus on that or look for the good things that are around that thing that I'm not liking.
I was kind of hoping you would start singing the Taylor Swift song.
I regret about singing that song. So I'm happy that this is a new recording.
What word or phrase describes what savoring feels like when it's had a positive impact?
Calm.
Love that. So, Melissa, this recording of this episode has been such a gift in so many ways. First, really appreciate your bravery and courage to tell your story, and really grateful for you sharing what you know to be true about savoring. So much goodness in there, and so it's just wonderful to hear you talk about these things and how powerful it's been for you. There's so many lessons that I can take that will be powerful for me, and so I really appreciate that. And we've had some technology problems along the way. We recorded this episode last week, and due to glitches on my side, had to re-record it today. And then even in today, we've had a couple challenges. And although, yeah, those challenges have been frustrating, I can honestly say I've savored the moments of having this conversation in 4 parts now with you. And it's how I actually think about all the conversations, and why I so appreciate that we stay in contact, because I am reminded of savoring every time we talk, and hearing your stories about the things that you do, and the adventures that you go on. And it's just a wonderful reminder of that. Yeah, as you said, we all do deserve the greatest things in life. And it is reaffirming to see you take on this approach of savoring and enjoy, what some people might think are the simple things, but as you said, are the best things in life.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for those sweet words. I I told you before, I think this was the right space to talk about this, and you are the right person to talk with. And I always enjoy having conversations with you, our meaningful conversations. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me, for creating this space.
You are so welcome. And I am so looking forward to the opportunity where we get to go to Grand Central Station together and just sit there and watch the flow and enjoy the moment and savor the moment.
Yeah, I will be happy to.
Thank you, and look forward to next time.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to apologize. I savored this conversation with Melissa, and I hope you do too. I appreciate her courage and her bravery for sharing her story. I'm grateful she shared what she's learned to be true about savoring, not only as a way to enjoy everything that life has to offer, but also as a way to heal oneself. I'm also inspired by her desire to help others who are suffering through anxiety, depression, and body dysmorphia. By sharing her story, her intent is to destigmatize the asking for help and seeking therapy. As she shared, seeking help was part of her path to well being, and she was surprised by how many resources were available to her once she sought them out. And I love how Melissa responded to the question of what does she know to be true about savoring, that everyone deserves the best things that life has to offer, and that finding joy and savoring requires action. It does not just happen. You have to be a joy hunter too. And I'm grateful that she shares that this appreciation for savoring did not come to her naturally, but only after she sought help from mental health professionals. What a gift this conversation was for me, and hopefully you got a lot of value out of it too. This conversation leads me to reflect on a few things that I'd encourage you to think about as well. The first, how can we savor the moments when we use our superhero powers in order to be fully present in their impact on others? And before we jump into our superhero mode, can we spend more time savoring the situation to better discern why we are there? And do we need to use our superhero power in that moment? Or is the person or people we are hoping to positively impact, are they fully capable of leveraging their own agency and capabilities to address the problem or situation they are facing? In other words, can we be more impactful by supporting others rather than jumping in to save the day? If you're not sure what your superhero power is, one of the easiest ways to discover it is to ask a trusted friend or colleague. They most likely know what it is. And if you like this episode, please do me a favor. Tell one other person who you think would enjoy listening to it. That would be truly helpful, and I would greatly appreciate it. What Do You Know to Be True is a Three Blue Pens production, and I'm your host, Roger Kastner. We are recording on the ancestral lands of the Duwamish and Suquamish people. To discover the ancestral lands of the indigenous people whose land you may be on, go to native-lands.ca. Okay, be well, my friends. Do you do karaoke?
I want to say no, but I have done it sometimes.
But it's not something you seek out.
No, it's not something that I seek out, but if I'm there, well, I'm already there. So what I'm going to do, I need to sing.
I love that. Because it's something I do not seek out. I wish it was. But when I go, I'm like way too embarrassed to do it. But
all the people around you sing well.
Yeah.
Depends, because I have a friend that sings really well. So every time she sings, it's like, come on. We cannot sing around you because you look like professional, but the rest of us mortals that don't sing really well, we just enjoy and laugh. And
they absolutely need to advertise at karaoke sessions whether or not, okay, we're taking this seriously, or nah, the worse you are at singing, the better this is going to be. And I have found myself going with friends to karaoke, and they did not warn me in advance. And it was absolutely one of those sessions where everyone there's like, trying out for the next musical. And I'm there like, maybe a couple shots into it thinking I was going to belt out a song. And then like, no, this is not I'm in the wrong place.
Well, no, my friends don't sing really good. So maybe that's because I'm okay going to karaoke. You can delete this section.